Choosing to ride on the pavement instead of the road often face angry stares from pedestrians, not to mention falling foul of a fine as well.
Yeah, but the Metropolitan Police in Camden have decided not to punish every bike rider who swaps the tarmac for tiles. Instead, they're asking them what led them to leave the road in the first place, rather than giving them that on-the-spot fine.
So, we've been asking, is it ever okay to cycle on the footpath? We asked people in Manchester what they thought.
I choose not to cycle on the pavement. I don't agree with people that do cycle on the pavement, but maybe there should be a bit more facility for people to have the right way, people parking in cycle lanes and stuff like that, you know.
I'm a cyclist myself, so I probably have been known to, you know, be a bit naughty like that at times.
I tend to just go on the pavement, occasionally being stopped by a policeman, but I feel much safer on the bike than in a car, as far as the police are concerned.
I don't think cyclists should be on the pavement, particularly whenever they've made all of the cycle lanes and everything. It's more difficult whenever you're in places where there aren't cycle lanes, and I think if they feel trapped by traffic, then sometimes they might. But it's difficult then for pedestrians.
I was always told to get off my bike when I was cycling on the pavement. I can actually remember going down there, on that corner there, and I turned that corner, down that street, and there was a huge policeman, and he said, I was about 14, and he said, get off your bike.
So he remembers that moment. We're joined here in the studio by Tompion Platt from the campaign group Living Street. Morning to you. And also we're joined by Police Sergeant Nick Clark from the Metropolitan Police, who's in Camden this morning. Nick Clark, so if you'd explain to us, so you're going to stop people and you're going to have a chat. What's the idea?
So fundamentally, the key issue is we received a complaint about people cycling on the pavement following some of our looking at close passing of cyclists with another operation that we were running. And rather than just going over there and putting a plaster over it and sticking out some tickets for cycling on the pavement, we wanted to look at why the people were cycling on the pavement to ultimately get them off the pavement and back onto the roads so that the pedestrians were safer. But if you just take an enforcement-only approach, you're not going to solve it, because you're just going to be doing a very short, small opportunity at window. Whereas if you look at the reasons behind it and tackle those, you can then deal with that problem and it hopefully goes away. So that's ultimately the original aim.
Tompion, loads of people have been getting in contact with us on this today, and again, it's quite balanced on both sides of the argument, saying I can't cycle on the road because it's not safe, and car drivers saying, well, cyclists don't really care and they're a law unto themselves. What have people been telling you? Similar things?
Yes. First things first, I want to be really clear. We want more people cycling, and we want to have streets that are safe for cycling. However, it's when you mix people walking and cycling together that can cause conflict, anxiety and fear, and sometimes even serious injury. And we do have a lot of our older supporters in particular who get in touch and say this is a problem in their area. So in a nutshell, we want safer streets for cycling, but we don't want to have that at the expense of people walking.
Nick Clark mentioned this thing, close passing, didn't he? And that's when things really begin to get problematic.
Absolutely, and we completely support that measure, because that's about making it safer to cycle on the road. But the bigger issue here is tackling the sources of road danger for cyclists, so things like introducing 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, segregated cycle lanes, so they don't feel that they need to cycle on the footway. We think enforcement does have a role to play, but absolutely with discretion and common sense. No one would expect a young kid cycling to school to be told to cycle on a busy road. But what's also important, I think, is local authorities aren't let off the hook in some way with tackling the source of road danger and slowing down traffic by simply saying, oh, you can put cyclists onto the footway, and then you cause other conflict with people walking.
Nick, I know you are a
as
cyclist
someone cycles
yourself.
past on the behind you on the pavement. But
yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah, you should have stopped him and handed out a fine, Nick. But in terms of to pick up on Tompion's point, very good. Pick up on Tompion's point, enforcement of the law, because lots of people get in contact with us today saying that cyclists ignore in many ways and just go about their business wherever they want to go, whether that's on the road or on the pavement. What would you say to that?
Okay, first of all, I'd say that we're not saying for a second that cycling on the pavement isn't illegal. It still is. It's just about using our discretion. The guidance since 1999 has always been that we should apply it appropriately. To tar an entire swathe of people saying that they all disregard the law is frankly ridiculous. I'm sure, as you said, there's one cyclist behind me who's cycling on pavement, but how many more have been cycling past me totally legitimately? So you can't tar them all with the same brush. That's just not fair. So it's about looking at them. If there is someone cycling on the pavement and they're doing it in a dangerous fashion, an inconsiderate fashion, they're not giving the other vulnerable road users, the pedestrian, that space. That's a whole different ballgame. What we're talking about is the casual cyclist, the one on the Santander cycle, who's feeling intimidated by the volume of traffic, the close passing of HGVs, and it's forcing them onto the pavement. What we're saying is we're trying to find out why they're doing that, and we can then feed back through the council, through Transport for London, where the infrastructure needs improving.
And do you think, really briefly, Nick, there may be just certain places that cyclists feel worried about, for example?
Well, yeah, I think it's really clear. When we started doing our close pass stuff that we emulated from West Midlands Police, our Twitter sort of came alive with people pointing out, oh, you try this road, try that road, because that's where I get the worst problems. So there is clearly identifiable problems, and the statistics for killed and seriously injured people also reflect that.
Good to talk to you. Thanks very much. I know you're busy. We'll let you go and get on with your job. Nick Clark, thank you, and Tom Pian-Platt, thank you both as well. Thank you.
I think you're the